Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing tonight? Back again for another episode of the Swaggy Sports Podcast, where I have three of my dearest friends, three OGs of the Swaggy Sport Podcast in here tonight with me. One who I haven't seen since the first episode of the Swaggy Sports Podcast, Mr. PJ Angeli, but we're so happy to have him here
Bringing
tonight,
back.
along with Mr. Cheat Cheat, 10 Toes, and Mr. Shane Simpson. So glad that I got to have you guys on. Going into week 9 of the NFL season, where we just had a crazy trade deadline. I want to say I took a picture of it. It was on Sports Center. It was like 10 trades or so on the trade deadline. Yup, 10 trades on Tuesday, most in a single day during the season since 1990. So teams were shucking and jiving, moving and grooving, trying to make some last minute adjustments to try and take their team over the hump or signify the fact that this isn't their year and get themselves some draft capital type of situation. So the first thing I wanted to do tonight was to talk a little bit, get some opinions from you guys as far as how you guys saw those trades for these respective teams. I feel like even though it wasn't a trade deadline day trade, we have to start off with this one with the Panthers continuing their yard sale. They're having a yard sale, not anymore, but trading C-Mac to the 49ers in exchange for 4 future draft picks. Mr. Angeli, I'm going to start off with you. How do you feel about that trade for both teams? Like, do you see it as a win-win for both teams, a win-lose either way? How you feeling about that? C-Mac to San Fran. Talk to me.
I think it's a huge win for the Niners. You got a guy go down early, Elijah Mitchell. Jeffrey Wilson stepped in, give him some production, but they're usually a team that plays with backs by committee, and adding CMC in the receiving game and the rushing game is huge for them. They're showing that they need to win now. So that's a big trade for them. And as far as the Panthers go, I think they're just foot's going to be off the gas the rest of the season and continual rebuild for them.
I hear that. You guys kind of second that opinion. I like that. I love that take right there. Pretty much, I would say so.
I just don't know the context of what the Niners have in terms of picks to give up 3 years worth of first rounders and just kind of what that roster composition is. That's a lot of picks for Christian, especially, I don't want to speak downly of him, but he's been injured quite a bit. And, it kind of seems to me like what the Rams did last year, do whatever they got to do to build the squad to give them the best chance to get back to the bowl. If all that happens, then, great trade. But
right.
But from the surface, the Panthers, I think that's, a great move. He really hasn't had that big of a role in the past few seasons. You don't have the team for him in place today to be successful. So versus, the outlay of cash and, the capital to build a future on, I think it's a good move for them too.
I do as well. Shane, you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I would say the Panthers are definitely using the Oklahoma City Thunder model, where you just stack up on as many draft picks as you can, because they're definitely in a rebuild right now. The history of Shanahan and the McCaffreys is pretty cool. They've known each other since Christian was a kid, which I thought was pretty interesting. So maybe that was coming for a while. And I think the 49ers got what they wanted. They wanted a running back they can use in the passing game so that they can use Deebo Samuel as their running back more often now.
Yeah. I feel like when I thought about my first initial thought when I saw that trade go through, as far as Deebo and C-Mac, arguably 2 of the most ultimate weapons we have in the NFL right now, as far as like Deebo creating this wide back position and C-Mac being such a dual threat at the halfback. It's very cool to see, and especially with a guy like Shanahan to be the one writing those plays down. I think it should work in their benefit. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, going off what she said too, I think that this is Like they're all in. They're like the Rams last year. Like they won a Super Bowl and they honestly have the pieces to do it. The biggest thing is just going to be Garoppolo's just got to do the bare minimum. He's got to be a game manager at worst. If Garoppolo can go out there and control the game and let his weapons do the work for him, like there's no reason they can't make the NFC title game. And they've been
Right.
there before. Like there's experience on that roster.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to
And they got
touch
the
on
defense.
what she said real quick with the injuries regarding Christian McCaffrey. My only thought that would help him in San Francisco is that you're going to a team with more weapons and they spread the ball around a little bit better than they did in Carolina. So maybe his load is a little bit lighter. So
Yeah.
that
That is
could
true.
affect his injuries, his availability. So it might help a little bit on their end.
And that line's got to be way nicer too, Paulie. I didn't even think about that either.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
and think about how many times he was touching the rock in Carolina. Like there could be
Yeah.
drives where he's touching the pill probably 9, 10 times on a drive. Like his
Right.
usage rate was absurd. You're just
Mhm.
asking for injuries at that point.
I agree. I agree.
Wish he was in 5 though.
Yeah.
Taji brought that up. That was a
I
great
do
point.
too.
But if he's not 5, I like him in the 2-3.
I do like
2-3.
2-3.
Yeah, two
Jump
three's
in,
not
jump
bad. 2-3's not bad. It'll definitely take some getting used to. But if he had 3 to 5 like he was back in Stanford, that would have been hard body. That would have been hard body. All right. I like that talk. That's great talk. Let's keep it moving on these trades, man, because there was a lot. October 25th. Later on in the show, we're gonna give you guys our MVP, OPOY, DPOY midseason picks. Easy candidate for offensive rookie of the year. Brees Hall tears his ACL, unfortunately. So the Jets, they make a quick little trade to bring over an RB1 to kind of keep the RB room strong with Michael Carter, who I still think is a good back. But the Jags trade James Robinson to the Jets for a 2023 6th-round pick after Brees gets hurt. Potentially, it has the conditions to become a 5th-rounder if things go the way they should. But Chi, how you feeling about that right there? Jags proved that ETN, he's the main toter. Releases some stress off of his back. Jags let him know that they're trusting him with the pill. How you feeling about that for both sides?
That's all good, but correct me, like I view this as the Jets fleeced the Jags. I mean,
I
ETN,
would
sure,
agree
he's a
with that.
great back, but a 5th, 6th-round pick for the production James Robinson had last year,
Right,
that's a huge move for
right.
the Jets. And I don't know what the future for a back like Michael Carter looks like once Brees Hall comes back. But I mean, that 1-2 punch is going to be very, very tough. But yeah, I think the Jags low-key got fleeced.
I like that. I hear you with that. Truthfully, I truthfully do. Peter, you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying. I mean, James Robinson's a type of guy that you could give the ball 20 times a game and feel pretty confident going in that game in your rushing attack. And it's good for the Jets. I mean, it supplements their run game for sure. And then you look at it from the standpoint like the Jets are more or less hot right now. When have they been winning games like this? So they wanted to keep it rolling, and they needed to supplement their backfield with Brees Hall going down. And if you look at the Jags, like it frees up ETN a lot. He's going to get a lot more touches now, but you have to wonder how he's going to hold up with more usage. And for a 5th-round pick, I'm not loving that because just like what she said, like you got a guy like James Robinson that could give you 20 touches a game, like meaningful touches a game. So that's a big loss on their offensive end.
Shaners, what you feeling about that trade?
I'll look at this trade from a few angles. First one, James Robinson, obviously undrafted, rookie year, had a great year. Then tears his Achilles. That's obviously a tough injury to come back from. And you could just see over the weeks that his usage rate was going down. ETN played with Trevor Lawrence. They wanted ETN to be the guy. If ETN doesn't go crazy the past few weeks like he has, they don't make that trade. But he's been going off, so they trade him. I like the move for the Jets. Obviously, when Brees Hall comes back, he's going to be their guy. But
Yeah.
it's tough. I mean, the Jets, like after the viewing that they had last week, I mean, they have so many good pieces, and there's so many things that could work for that offense. But like Zach Wilson just looked like the dollar store Patrick Mahomes, and I mean, he
Right.
essentially lost them that game. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I like what they're building. I think James Robinson's a great piece to it, but I think they're like one more piece away from making a difference. And it might be that quarterback position. I mean, he was looking like Sam Darnold last week. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's what I'm saying, and maybe it's because, I mean, Paulie, you played quarterback back in the day, but there's like this thing that happens when they're used to getting sacked and rushed and people all in their face. Like that last pick he threw was just bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just makes no sense. Like, and I never played the position, but like, is it seeing ghosts? Is that really like, is that the result?
I'm
Off
s-
your
I'm
back
s-
foot, no one in your face, float one to
Yeah.
the DB straight in the chest.
I'm not now it's a mistake. We're looking at a mistake, and I'm not selling Zach Wilson just yet. I'm still going to get behind the fact that he's young. I think you still need to see him more. And while he was game managing in the previous games, um, to me, he showed signs of potential in certain areas. So just that one mistake or that game, I'm not selling him just yet.
But you hear what I'm saying though.
I
Like
do.
it's
I
just
hear what
like
you're
some of
saying.
the passes are just bad. And is it because you're used to pressure? Is it like, young,
It
but
could be. It could be the
I guess we'll
moments too
see.
big. It could be the moments too big. It could be that. I personally did not see the play, but I can imagine what happened knowing Zach Wilson, knowing the Jets track record. And I'm I'm definitely I'm sure, like, I'm not sure, but maybe the moment was just too big for him in the late game situation.
Right. How you feel about that trade, Steve out?
Me personally, like you said, Chi, to get James Robinson for a 6-rounder, that's a steal. That's a steal in my opinion. He's a main toter, like Peter said. You can give him 20 plus carries a game meaningfully. I respect the move on the Jets' behalf because I think they got something going on and they could maybe battle for something. So why not make a move? If you're Joe Douglas, why not make a move to replace Brees Hall, who, like I said, was probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year? So if you can keep that running game still a legitimate threat to lay off for Zach Wilson, so maybe he doesn't have to throw as much late in the game if you can stay up early, it might be a beneficial move for them. As far as the Jags behalf, like, you're getting back a 6-round draft pick. Yes, ETN, he proved that he can be a main toter. Like Shaner said, if he didn't have the past weeks he did, trade probably wouldn't have happened. But I like it for both sides, respectfully do. As far as Zach Wilson goes, like, he doesn't make those mistakes. They beat the Pats. And like, I want to say, I could be wrong, but in about 17, 16 starts, he's thrown about 16, 17 interceptions. So I don't
Right.
know what that is. Like, yes, he's young, but he was what, third pick of the draft, second pick of the draft?
Yeah. Let
So
me say this real quick. Who's the best quarterback out of that draft?
What was that draft class?
I would have to
Lawrence,
say,
Wilson, Lance, Fields, Jones, Davis Mills.
Joey Bag of Donuts. No, is that not the same draft? What year are we talking so I can look it
No,
up?
no.
Joey was
No.
before.
Joey was before that. Yeah.
It was
2021?
Lawrence, Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin
Yeah.
Fields, Mac Jones,
Well,
Davis
I
Mills.
mean, I
It's
mean,
Justin Fields. Justin
Trevor
No,
Fields.
Lawrence is
it's-
starting to come into his own a little bit here. Like, I think he's starting
Not
to get a little
last
bit more
game.
comfortable.
He blew the
Give
game
me
for them. He
Davis
threw.
Mills, bro.
Oh, stop that.
No, this
Davis
is
Mills in the
good. This
red
is
zone is
good.
tough,
This
bro.
is
I
good.
think Trevor Lawrence is starting to get a little bit more comfortable in the NFL game.
I could tell by that pick he threw on the 1 yard line.
Shit, bro.
These guys are young, man.
How about
They're
what you
young.
learn?
We're seeing the
The last
changing of
few
the
weeks
guard.
is Justin Fields,
We're
man.
seeing the changing of the guard in the NFL. It's coming.
No
You gotta
doubt.
give
No
him a
doubt about
little
that,
bit of
Peter. No
time.
doubt about that. But that's a great question. That's a great question. I feel like, oh, that's a great question. Me personally, I would probably have to respectfully take Trevor Lawrence. But let's see how Justin looks when he gets Claypool in the mix with Darnell Mooney. Let's see what happens there. Because even against the Commanders on Thursday Night Football, Justin was giving his weapons opportunities to make very big plays, and they didn't capitalize. He was getting them the pill. So let's see what happens. But that's a great question, especially when you look at how everything panned out the way they did. Like, that's a great question. You could, like she said, you could argue Davis Mills. Mills pays the bills. Like, he could do it too. I like him. But that's a great question. Let's keep it
Brandon
moving.
Cooks doesn't like him. He wants out.
Well, yeah, he wanted gone. But who wouldn't want it? I mean, respectfully though,
I love me
That
some
franchise is in shambles.
get Cooks up out of there. He should have been up out of there.
Cowboys wanted him. They couldn't afford him.
They're paying
That's the
Zeke
thing, though.
too
You want
much.
out of
That's a
somewhere,
whole
you know, you
conversation.
You can't be, getting everyone to. If someone knows that you want out, it's not like they're gonna pay you whatever it is you're necessarily asking because they know you want gone.
Right.
Yeah. They're saying he might just get
Brandon
put
Cooks
on
is
waivers.
nice, but
Brandon
he's getting older.
Yeah.
on the waivers?
I mean, he wants out.
He's not going to play
running out
tomorrow.
of
He's
time.
going to try to just get released.
He wants out because he's running out of time, and he knows it.
The 4PF way.
Yeah.
Heard that. I heard that. That's very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Let's keep it moving. This is great talk so far. I had a feeling this was going to be a good pod.
Paul
October
survived COVID. It's
26th.
got to be a good one.
Yeah, that's facts. That is facts. What do they call it? Double negative? What's double negative?
2-year layover.
Let's keep it moving. October 26th, Eagles. Oh, this was a crazy move. Eagles acquired defensive end Robert Quinn from the Bears in exchange for a 2023 4th-round pick. Now, when I'm gonna start off on this one, when I saw this trade, I just thought of like the rich getting richer in a sense of where they didn't need Robert Quinn, but you bring in Robert Quinn, a dude, I want to say he has the all-time sacks in Bears history, which is wild. To say it for a historic franchise defensively, to say that for himself is very, very, very up there. I like that trade for the Eagles. The rich get richer there. I want to say after the Claypool trade, the Bears are sitting with 8 picks going into next year's draft. It was 9. Now they have 6. They're definitely building capital and bringing in another weapon for Justin. How you guys like that trade as far as the Eagles go? Shaner, talk to me. What do you like about this trade or don't like for either side?
I'll talk more about it when we get into Roquan Smith, but Eagles win that trade. I'll talk more about it later.
Heard that. Anyone
That's
else
how
want
he's
to touch
game,
on it?
though. He's a numbers guy. So he does what he has to do behind the scenes, if it seems advantageous for them. And, at the end of the day, they get an unbelievable defensive player from the Bears.
Yeah.
And don't the Eagles have first-round picks in excess, low-key?
2.
Yeah.
They have 2 next year, which is bonkers.
After the trade?
After this trade, yeah, with Robert Quinn, because it was a 4th rounder. It was a 4th-round pick.
Oh.
4th-round pick.
Good for the Eagles.
I mean,
just
the way I look at it, they got a guy who, correct me if I'm wrong, had 15, 16 sacks last year or whatever, something in the high mid-teens.
Mm-hmm.
And for a bag of footballs, like a 4th-round pick, like, come on. This Eagles roster, top to bottom, is something like we have not seen in a long time. I mean, and you look at Howie, people wanted his throat 2-3 years ago for the way he drafted, and now he's sitting on his high horse. I mean, he definitely created a dominant roster in the NFC, and that's a great trade for the Eagles. And I guess when you look at the Bears stacking picks, freeing up cap space, they're looking to build around Justin Fields. Like, they're all in on him. That's their guy, and they're gonna build around him.
Heard that.
I wish we had clips, touching off what Paul's. I wish we had clips of all of our Eagles fans 3 years ago talking about Howie compared to now. and
Mhm.
just
But
to
that's the
see.
thing. He's a piss poor drafter, but
He
he knows
is.
what to do with the active rosters. I mean,
Right.
their whole last 3 drafts were, the best thing he did was pick up AJ Brown.
Yeah.
All their
Yeah.
other who did he drafted Offalor in the first round. He took right. Didn't he
JJ
Yeah.
take Nelson?
Arcega-Whiteside,
Arcega
No,
Reader.
Whiteside.
he traded with the Colts for Nelson.
Mhm.
For Quentin?
AJ, and
They
there was one
took
other one that was just
Rager.
poverty.
Rager.
Yes,
Yeah.
Jalen
exactly.
Rager.
That's what I'm saying.
And then
But,
traded him to the
Over
Vikings.
a lot of good receivers that are
Terry,
currently doing very well in
Debo,
the league.
Jettas,
Jettas.
DK Metcalf.
DK.
But no,
But
hats off to Howie for this most
no,
recent
yeah, hats
transaction.
off for real. Because I mean,
Yeah.
like they have the best. I feel like they have the best roster top to bottom in the NFL
Mhm.
right now, for sure.
Yeah, they got
Hands
depth.
down. Hands down. I like that. Let's keep it moving. This one surprised me. I mean, it might spark differently for you guys, but this one surprised me. Giants trade wide receiver Kadarius Toney to the Chiefs for a 2023 third round pick and a 2023 sixth round pick. PJ, what were your initial thoughts when you saw that on your phone? That
A
notification.
lot of rumors in the middle of this trade. I mean, I don't believe that he was babying, milking, faking an injury to not play. I mean, if you look at the Giants right now, they have a nice nucleus going with their coach and what they're doing on offense and defensively. And I don't buy that he didn't want to play. But what I thought maybe is that Kadarius Toney might not be a big team guy.
Mhm.
And I think he wanted out for a while. And this was just the deal that they could get for it. That's the way I looked at it.
Chi, what are your thoughts on that trade? How do you think the Chiefs will use this dude for real?
I mean, if he returns to Florida Gator form, Kadarius, I mean, he could be super scary in Kansas City. I mean, you've seen it in very, very, very subtle, spurts here and there. I didn't know that, Paulie, about how they said he was milking an injury and that sort of thing. Doesn't really surprise me.
Rumors.
Right. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think he's a good football player, and for the Giants at this moment in time, a third and a sixth round pick for him, it's not a bad trade either. But I think his ceiling is too high to give up on him if he wanted to, be in New York. But that's how I look at it. But no, I don't think that's a terrible trade. I think Patty turns him up.
Yeah.
In the way
Shane,
that
what you
Daniel
think
Jones
here?
is able to.
Yeah.
I agree with everything they said. The only thing I'll say is that tattoos last forever, and that back tattoos can be tough to explain now that he's in Kansas City.
What do you get?
He has
He
a
got the New York
back
skyline
tat.
all over his back with the number 89.
Oh boy. That's a
There's
tough
got to
one.
be somewhere in Kansas City that he got to get the farm.
I know. He's not even 89 anymore either, I don't think.
No.
He got a jersey tatted on him?
It pretty much.
It's like as if it were his jersey right on his back, yeah, with the
That's funny as
Statue of Liberty and all that. It's pretty wild. Y'all hit all the points there on that one. I feel like if anyone is going to bring out that Florida Gator KT, it's Andy and Patty Pat. Like, I love it for the Chiefs. Considering that Kadarius Toney was a first round pick, to get him for a third and a sixth to Kansas City, gotta love that. There's a lot of receivers there. Juju, MVS, Hardman, Sky Moore, who they just drafted. It'll definitely be interesting. Maybe OBJ in a couple of weeks, along with Killer Trav. They have a lot of weapons, but I think they'll find a way to get him in the right way. As far as the Giants go, I mean, if they weren't using him anyway, it seemed like with the new regime under Dable, he wasn't really rocking with him anyway. So get rid of him while you can. Use him or lose him.
That's the only thing I'll say too. just been reading up on the Giants a lot and listening to different players talk. Like, that's a huge culture team, and that's a huge culture shift that happened this year. And I mean, who knows? It's rumors, but if Kadarius Toney wasn't bought in, like that affects your team culture. They probably had no problem shipping him out. Like they're trying to build something, and they're not going to put up with bullshit from a guy who has barely been healthy. So I don't think they're really losing sleep over it.
Right. I hear you with that 100%.
And like the way the Giants offense looks is like they've been just playing grimy, old school football.
And the defense has been playing great. So if you could control the ball, control the line of scrimmage, and then you trust your defense at the end of the game, like if that works, keep doing it.
Right. You don't need to throw the ball 80 yards to Kadarius or,
I hear you there.
OG, man. I do like that coach.
Yeah.
Me too, man.
New England guy,
I would have him as a coach of the year right now. I would definitely have him coach of the year right now. He changed the Giants around. No doubt about it.
They say they walk into the locker room and meetings and stuff, and he just bumps Biggie Smalls. That's all he does.
Really?
He's listening to Biggie.
He's another New England guy. And then you look at like Rabel with the Titans, like he's another Bill Belichick disciple that does not run a team like Bill Belichick in some senses. Like he's a player's coach, just like Rabel is in Tennessee.
Yeah, and the same thing with Flo before everything with him happened.
He's gonna get back up there. He's gonna get back up there. I think he is.
It's kind of like the comparison of like Nick Saban in college.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I hear you with that. Let's keep it moving. This is some great talk right here. I mean, these trades were pretty interesting. Like, I don't really think we've really seen trades like these, like, as far as that trade deadline window. Like, these are some critical moves right here.
It looks like the NBA with how much they've been moving around. Like, you don't see that in football.
I think I definitely see, like we talk about player empowerment and all this, but like I feel like that culture is coming over to the NFL a little bit. They're seeing what these NBA players can do as far as like getting on a contending team right now, not having to live out your contract. It's starting to come over into the NFL. I definitely say so. Speaking of which, we have right here, Bears trade linebacker Roquan Smith requested a trade before the season started to the Ravens for linebacker A.J. Klein and a 2023 second rounder, 2023 fifth round pick. Now, when you think of Roquan Smith, he's leading the NFL in tackles right now, arguably the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL right now. He's a game changer. I feel like off-ball linebackers don't get as much like notoriety in today's game right now as much as an edge rusher, your corner, but like Roquan Smith is a game-changing player in my opinion. I think if you bring him over to the Ravens squad, Marcus Williams gets healthy, like Marcus Peters stops getting these weird, ugly PIs, and Marlon plays a little bit better. I like that move for the Ravens. Now he's going to be up for a contract at the end of the season, so hopefully you guys can get as much as you can out of him, and they make a nice little run with him. But Pedro, what you thinking about that trade for both sides?
I mean, great for the Ravens. I need to know why he wanted the trade. I guess like had to be a franchise thing. He just didn't want to be there anymore. But like a guy like that, like he's a freak of nature. You don't want to get rid of guys like that. And maybe they just didn't want to pay him when his contract was up too, and they wanted to ship him out. But I don't like the trade at all. But it seemed inevitable. So
yeah, I hear you there. Chi, what you thinking about it?
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys hit all the points. I think he's going to be a good player in Baltimore, but as we spoke about the Bears earlier, I mean, that's kind of what the vision is moving forward for the team. It's let's free up as much cap as possible and get as many picks, and let's build this thing from the ground up.
I hear that. All right, Shaner, the time has now come. What you thinking right here?
I'm not even a Bears fan, and I was pissed about this
Really?
trade because the Bears, I don't care what anyone says, like the offense, now they got Claypool, like I like that, but I don't get it. Like the Bears are not a bad team. 3-5, like few games, they could easily be a 500 team right now, which would put them at second in their division. They're young. Trading away your two best defensive players, I don't understand. It's like they're caught in between. They want to be good, but they want to rebuild at the same time. And I don't understand it. I really don't because, I mean, that defense was already struggling a little bit, and now it's just decimated in my eyes. Like I think that defense, you saw what happened against the Cowboys. Like, and they were in that game at a point, but their defense just couldn't stand up and get stops. And I don't get it. Like they have new coaches, everything this year. Like they want to build around Justin Fields, and they're finally like figuring out how to use him. They're setting up run plays for him. They're using him right. His arm is looking more accurate than it has earlier in the season. Like they're a competitive team, but they're like chipping away at themselves to
Yeah.
make them less competitive. So I don't get it. I really don't.
Did they not do this? I just thought about this now. Did they not do something similar with Khalil Mack
They
for
did.
reference?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Because
Why did they do that?
I think he was up for contract. Like
Yeah, he never
Roquan
went with
Smith.
the second contract with the Bears, did he? Did
No,
he?
I don't think so. Unless he was in the
He
middle
went
of
to
that
Oakland.
contract.
Right.
But I think they just didn't want to pay him. I think they didn't want to pay him again because they knew he was worth the money and they just didn't want to do it.
And you think about like the nice, like kind of old school Bears. I mean, not old school, but late thousands Bears. It was
Yeah.
Briggs and Urlacher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were dumb nice.
They were.
You know, and as long as Chicago's been a organization that's been, you know, their whole identity on
Mhm.
Yeah,
defense.
literally. I mean, that's like you think of the Chicago Bears and you just think of a gritty defense with some dogs on it, and like
That's what I'm saying.
they're just trading away all their dogs. I'm like, I don't understand. They don't want to pay them. That's fine. I don't know. I don't get it.
You go from 2-3 years ago when Khalil Mack was there, however long it was since he's left, having the best defensive line in football. That's not an exaggeration.
No,
They were cut and dry the best defensive line in football. Now you look at their defense and it's like it's not all there. It just seems like it's not all there for a Chicago Bears team.
Yeah. I hear you. One person I think will be a great player that's on that team. They just drafted Jaquan Brisker. He's a
Yeah.
playmaker. He makes
Yeah,
plays
he's
on the ball.
in secondary. Yeah.
Corner.
He's like a safety, right?
Safety. He's a dog. I like him. But
He's got a great guy to learn from.
He balled out against the pass.
yeah, he
He had
did.
that crazy one-hand snag.
He did. Y'all made some great points there. It's kind of hard to argue because you can see the direction that they're going, like we've said already. Like they're building up some draft capital, saving the money up to be able to get some guys for Fields, and then just go crazy on that defensive side of the ball, I guess, draft wise, free agency wise. But Roquan is a good player. He's a good player. And he's a guy I feel like he's worth giving the money. And I think he's only 25, 26 years old. I think it's going to be a harder situation, though, for the Ravens than it would have been for the Bears, because the Ravens got to pay Lamar. You can only franchise tag one of them. So I definitely think they got to take advantage of this year right here, right now with him, because he might be gone. Because he already said he wants the 20 mil. He already said he wants 20 mil. So we'll have to see. But I do
Have they
like
dropped
it.
the bag on Darnell yet?
No, he's still in his rookie contract for as far as I
Yeah.
know.
He's only in
Right?
I don't
year
know how
2,
many
I
years
thought,
he's
right?
got left, but that's gonna be a bag.
Bag. He's a good player, man.
It is and it isn't though, because if you think about statistically, like you can argue that he's not worth a certain amount just because they're ranked dead last in passing. Like I think
Right.
he's ranked like the number 50 receiver, and as far I mean this is from a fantasy standpoint, but
Right.
like his
Right.
usage just isn't because that offense, like Fields will throw for like 170, 200. a game and then rush for 70 to 100. Like they're not throwing the ball a ton. He's definitely was their guy though.
But that's what I'm saying though. Out of Fields being 70, Darnell's probably got 80 of them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
So I'm
100%.
interested to see how that all shakes out.
Yeah.
Me too.
I love
They
Darnell.
brought
He's not a
over
number 1, but he's
Claypool
nice.
too, bro. They brought over Claypool, so who knows? It
Oh,
might
save it. I got a lot
open
to
some
say about
stuff up.
that one.
We're getting
Yeah,
there.
I
We're
got
getting there.
something to say about it too.
We're getting there. Let's talk about this one first, and then we'll get to Mr. Corvette. November 1st. This one right here, man. Little
Talk to me, Steve-O.
in division shenanigans. Little in division shenanigans.
Yeah.
Lions trade tight end TJ Hawkinson and 2 fourth-round picks to the Vikings in exchange for a 2023 second-round pick and a 2024 third-round pick. Now, when I see this trade right here, the first thing I kind of thought about me personally was like, wow, Lions, they're kind of looking as more as a rebuild. And 2, then this might be a hot take, but I think when Hawkinson goes into that Vikings offense, he's going to be the number 2 target over Thielen. I firmly believe that, solely because of the fact that you have to put a cornerback on Thielen, and in the matchups that Hawkinson's going to have in the middle of the field, I think Kirk is going to find him. I don't like, aside from what, Mason Rudolph, like, this is he's not your 1A tier tight end, but the 1A tier tight ends are like generational players that we have right now in the league. And Hawkinson's right under those guys as far as Kelsey, Waller, who else? Kittle.
Andrews.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews, yes, thank you. But I like it for the Vikes, man. I really do. The Lions, I mean, I don't really think they take that much of a drop off just because Jamison Williams is about to get added to the mix. You have Swift running the pill, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think it won't be that much of a drop off for them offensively. But what you think about it, Shane? What you think about this trade right here for both sides?
When you assume you make an ass out of you and me, so I'm not even gonna bother because I really don't understand that. Let alone trading away a top 7 tight end in the league, but trading him to a divisional rival. That trade made absolutely 0 sense to me. Good for the Vikings. They have Irv Smith Jr. now. Like Hawkinson's better. Hawkinson's gonna do great there. I like the point you made though about the Lions because I think Jamison Williams is going to go absolutely crazy when he's healthy. He's a 4-2 guy, and but yeah, no, the trade makes absolutely no sense to me because Hawkinson's young too. He's like 25 years old. Like that's someone you have for a long period of time and build chemistry with. He's a great tight end, so it made no sense to me.
It'll definitely be interesting to see how it goes. Chi, what were you thinking about that?
I mean, yeah, what exactly you both said. I mean, the offenses in Detroit will probably be less predicated on tight end play, but why would you want to trade a good tight end, a very good tight end, to a team that's going to give you hell now 2 times at least every year?
Right.
Going to go to Detroit and light them up every single time. But maybe I'm sure there's back office reasons and 100 other scenarios out there, but to me and everyone else, it makes no sense. But we'll see, I guess, how it pans out.
Peter, your 2 cents in a dollar.
Man, I'll make it quick. I hate to be a broken record player because we already covered it, but like you got a team that came out swinging more than they have the past few years with the Lions.
Fighting hard.
In the beginning of the year, and you trade away a guy that I get is not in that top tier the one guy, but he's getting up there. And then you give him to a division foe with a quarterback who is, nobody wants to hear this, but he's hot right now.
He's an elite game manager.
Like
He's hot right now, Shane.
He's the best above average quarterback in the league.
I'm just saying.
that is a great description.
He's the best. He's the best average QB in the NFL. No
I
better
can be fine
average
with that. I
quarterback
can be
in
fine
the
with
league.
that take. I mean, he's definitely got an incredible weapon in
6-1.
Jay Jettis.
He
But,
about to be 6-2 when he come to FedEx on Sunday. I'm telling you, and we're gonna get there later.
Kirk
We're gonna get
Cousins
there
is
later.
he's the
This
equivalent of
one,
the guy who shows up to his 9 to 5 every
Okay,
day
let
and
me
never
just make
complains.
let
Takes a
me
Yeah.
make my
30-minute lunch
point real
break.
quick.
Wonderful
Let me make
weather
my
we're
point about
having.
Kirk Cousins real quick. Kirk Cousins will get TJ the ball. Jared Goff needs to retire.
Dude, Jared Goff
Yeah.
hasn't been bad.
What do you mean? Why?
Huh? Why hasn't Jared Goff been bad?
You gotta give a reason why.
You want to talk about game management?
I'm saying in the start of the season, he wasn't bad at all. Dude, they were the highest scoring offense in the league.
Yeah.
And that defense, I mean, if that defense doesn't give up 35
If they could
points per
get
game,
just literally one stop.
Well, the point I'm trying to make is we watched Hard Knocks this summer. We saw.
I'm not saying he's great, but there's
we
been worse
saw-
quarterbacks in the league this year.
We
is what I'm
saw a
saying.
little bit of a replenished Lions roster, and we got a little sparkle in our eye the first couple weeks with the Lions, and now you trade away a pivotal piece of their offense. That's
Dude, they gave
I
the
just don't
Dolphins
get it.
hell this week.
Yeah,
gave
I
them hell,
just
man.
I don't see how this trade makes sense though.
No,
But
I
the
agree.
Dolphins-
I'm just saying Jared Goff hasn't been bad.
Right. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I would say. I as far as like making sense for the Lions. But me, like I said, me personally, I think when you put Jamison Williams in there, you still have Amon-Ra St. Brown, Reynolds from the Rams, DeAndre Swift. I don't think it's going to be that crazy of a drop off. Call me crazy, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a drop off, personally. And if they were to somehow end up with a top 3 pick next draft, you can bring over Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and then use the rest of your draft picks to improve your defense. I think it could benefit them. I don't know, but it's definitely interesting. Let's keep it moving though. Corvette. Bears get wide receiver help for Justin Fields. Steelers trade receiver Chase Claypool to the Browns. That's so wrong. That is so wrong. Sportingnews.com, fire your editor. The Steelers trade wide receiver Chase Claypool to, now I can't even think of where they traded him to because they put the Browns to the Bears. They traded him to the Bears for a 2nd-round pick in the 2023 NFL draft. Sportingnews.com, you completely messed up my flow. Hire a new editor. But Peter, as a loyal Steel Curtain member, how much does it hurt to see them, what they call it? Y'all call them the Maple Mamba? He's going out of the Steel Curtain. How does it feel?
Mapletron. This is close to home for a few reasons for me. I'm a big Notre Dame guy, as everyone knows. Loved him in South Bend, and I was very excited when we drafted him. He had a great rookie year, showed a lot of promise. And second year, a little bit of a slump. I mean, could be due to Ben Roethlisberger's play. We're not going to deny that. And I mean, I knew it was coming. Steeler faithful knew it was coming, and for a 2nd-round pick, I don't hate it. I'm happy for him. He's going to be with a young quarterback, and I think he's going to do well in Chicago.
I hear you with that. Personally, PJ, do you think you could get another Chase Claypool with a 2nd-round pick?
That's not what we're going to be in the market for in this upcoming draft. It's going to be very lineman heavy. Just a depleted offensive line that hasn't been good for the past 3-4 years. So I think that's the main focus, and some depth on defense because there's been quite a bit of injuries this year as well.
Yeah. TJ Watt was balling off rip. It doesn't help. He's the defensive
I know. Back
player
this
of the
week,
year.
though, I believe.
Oh, really? Good.
Mhm.
Good. Shaners, how did you feel about that trade when you saw it go across the ticker?
2 things. One, they already replaced Claypool, which is kind of hilarious because Claypool announced George Pickens being picked, and then George Pickens essentially took his job.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I like it for the Bears because they added a great run blocker for Justin Fields to run to the outside of the field, which is essentially why they picked up N'Keal Harry in the offseason as well.
Fair.
But
That is
I think
fair.
he gives them a little bit in the passing game. We'll see. But it's comical, but I'm being serious about the run blocking for
He's
Fields.
from Pittsburgh. Every Pittsburgh wide receiver
He's got it
blocks.
in him. Yeah, he's got it.
Every
in him.
Pittsburgh wide receiver blocks.
And he's a big body too.
6'4".
Chi, how you like that for Jay Fields?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this trade didn't really move me much at all. I think Claypool has a high ceiling potentially, but yeah, I mean, for the time being, good for Justin. Not gonna write him off yet, but I would still like to see consistency and just playmaking ability in the pass game at like the intermediate level. His deep ball is obviously incredible, and he's still young, but just more consistency. And if he could do those things, then I think the Bears' offense is going to at some point be dangerous, and he's got the right pieces around him to do it.
One more thing too, like with Claypool, hasn't shown a ton in the past 2 years, but you got to trade him while there's still some kind of value, because this year it's a second round pick. Next year it might be a fourth or fifth round pick, and they have a decent, some decent weapons with Deontay and Pickens coming into the league and Freiermuth. So, I mean, I think the Steelers are in full rebuild right now, and they know what they have, and they know it's not going to win games.
Do they have a jump ball guy on the roster beside Vermuth, if you even want to call him a jump ball guy?
I would say no. The wide receiver room's a little
Pickens
depleted.
could be a jump ball
He
guy.
could
He's
be.
athletic enough.
He's aggressive, I'd say, but
Not like a
NFL young
possession
boy.
guy, though.
but he's not 6'4", like basketball player body like Claypool
Right.
is.
Yeah, I hear you.
NFL young boy, man.
I hear you with that. I think
He's a demon.
I definitely think George Pickens is real, like scary good. Like
Yeah,
it's if you're going to Pickens after getting rid of Claypool, I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably 7 times out of the week. No offense to Mr. Claypool, but
Pickens isn't doing TikTok dances on the field and costing
Nah.
you guys the game.
Right, we had
That's all
to
I'll
get
say.
rid of that culture in our locker room.
yeah, respectfully. Steelers make another move though. Commanders trade cornerback William Jackson III to the Steelers for, I think is going to end up, they're swapping 6 and 5 round picks.
Mm-hmm.
Swapping 6 and 5 round picks. To give a little context from the Commanders corner side of things, we gave William Jackson a $40.5 million contract in 2021, in hopes that he could play alongside Kendall Fuller. And basically, I feel like the original plan was for Will Jack to be able to be a potential travel guy and have Kendall Fuller move into the slot, because I think he's best suited there. The Chiefs, when he won the Super Bowl, he was playing there. And then Benjamin St-Juste, who's emerged recently as a decent outside corner, would end up taking the other outside spot. But it's another Josh Norman type of situation, but reverse psychology, where Will Jack, he's a man-to-man guy, and we run a lot of match, a lot of zone, and he wasn't able to rock with us to the point where he just asked to be traded, play with a scheme that suited better for his strengths. So sent him over to the Steelers. I would assume you guys probably don't have so much input or opinion as far as this trade goes. Maybe Peter a little bit, but
Not much. I was a little skeptical when I saw a few clips online about watching him play, and then you explained to me that he's more of a man guy, and I see how it fits for the Steelers. So the team brings a lot of pressure, different pressure packages. So it just seems like for the Commanders, just clearing some cap space, he just didn't quite fit into their system.
yeah.
Correct
pretty
me if I'm
much.
wrong too. Wasn't it you guys were gonna trade him or just cut him?
Yeah, and I'm happy we ended up making something shake because that's classic Washington right there, like not being able to make something happen to benefit the team. Like I truthfully fear maybe hey bro, today was a day of hope in Washington.
Bank of America,
Today was a day of hope,
saviors.
but I fear that we might just let Deron Payne walk next year, which I don't want to happen. He's having a great year so far. D tackle out of Bama. But yeah, it was a situation where he wasn't working well with our scheme. Truthfully, I mean the defense has been playing better, but JDR, Jack Del Rio, defensive coordinator, I don't really see him lasting long in DC. So it kind of sucks to see him go, but he wasn't rocking with us and he wasn't playing well. So it is what it is. Let's keep it moving. This was probably my favorite trade as far as the trade deadline day went. Of those 10 trade deadline days, this was my favorite. The Broncos trade edge rusher Bradley Chubb and a 2025 fifth round pick to the Dolphins for a 2023 first round pick, a 2024 fourth round pick, and running back Chase Edmonds. G, representative of Fins Up, how did this trade make you feel? Be honest. Did you like it or love it or hate it?
I mean, it was a great trade. You know, you look at what they've done with what they got from the Niners for them to move up, and it's been Jalen Waddle, now Bradley Chubb, and Tua. Three guys that panned out very well. I think it's going to be, another guy from Jalen Phillips to learn from and, ultimately line up across from. And, Melvin Ingram, as good as he's been playing, that's kind of a Band-Aid at, his age and stage of his playing career. And I think, that's just another void. And, ultimately the Dolphins defense just needs to get back to the Brian Flores era type of performances on a week in, week out basis. And, it's just another guy that adds a dimension to the rush. And, the back end, that's just kind of what's been confusing watching the team is they have the same exact pieces.
Right.
They have a great back end. They have two great linebackers and a D line that gets after it. Is that, and the scheme really hasn't changed all that much. So kind of has me scratching my head, but overall, I think it was a great trade for the Fins. Other than the offensive line, I mean, there's really not many holes left on the roster. And, you used the 49ers by giving them a couple spots to, turn three really good roster spots for yourself. So I was happy with the Fins.
I hear you there. I love it. I love it for y'all, bro. I think it shows that y'all want to win now. Y'all feel like y'all can win now. And I like that move. Along across this sideline with Jaden
Jalen.
Phillips. Yeah, I like his game. I think we'll learn a lot from Chubb. Peter, what were you thinking about that trade right there? And let me also mention, just because it's a part of the same situation, the Dolphins brought over Jeff Wilson from the Niners in exchange for a 2023 fifth round pick because they let go of Edmonds. So just to add a little bit more context.
Yeah, I didn't want to touch on that, but I love everything about Jeff Wilson. And, at the same time, though, I think Raheem would have been good just to keep doing what he was doing by himself. I mean, he's been getting his. And you haven't seen, a lot of what they still have in the stable, which I find to be interesting. But, at the end of the day, Jeff Wilson, he's a good runner. And obviously Mike McDaniel loves the kid, so it's always a positive.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
I think she covered the base of it. I'm a big fan of what Jeff Wilson has done to this point this year, and I think that's a big add for their stable. And I mean, you're gonna get production out of Chubb. I think it's a good move for the Dolphins. I don't know what's going on in Denver right now, but definitely not where they thought they would be going into Week 9.
Yeah.
Right.
To say the very least. Shaners, what were you thinking about this trade?
I think this is a masterpiece that was in the works for a while. This all stemmed from Ricky Williams throwing on the gas mask and getting caught. And that essentially turned into a pick that they traded for Trey Lance, who didn't play his rookie year and then was completely out this year. And now they have two of the most productive wide receivers in the game, and Bradley Chubb, who just made their defense where they've struggled the most significantly better. Like that is a trade that has spanned a few years now, probably 3 or 4 years. That
Yeah.
I mean, they essentially turned into getting rid of a player into 3 extremely productive players. Like that's very impressive.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I love the move, man. Like I said, I think it proves that they're trying to make something shake right now. And the front line, man, it starts in the trenches. A dude like Chubb can make a play that'll change an entire game. So I like it. I like it for the fans. This one,
And we're undefeated with Tua at the helm.
big
Which is a
facts,
crazy
bro.
stat.
Over 300 again against the Lions. See, he's getting it to those guys. And then I'm pretty sure Tyreek and Waddle went over 300 as far as from scrimmage yards, man. It's special. Need for speed. I said it in the beginning.
They got more combined yards than like 10 NFL receiving cores.
I
Yeah,
believe
that
it.
was
That's
wild.
crazy.
I believe that. 100% believe that. That's crazy. Let's keep it moving. I'm probably gonna do probably end it on this last one right here because this one was pretty wild, man. Parlay talk. Jaguars acquire suspended receiver Calvin Ridley, slide Rid, from the Falcons in exchange for draft capital, as much as a 5th-round pick in 2023 and a 2nd-round pick in 2024. Now, as we all know, Calvin, he'll be suspended for the remainder of the season, but considering next year you're going with Calvin Ridley as your wide receiver 1 with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, and Evan Ingram hasn't been playing too bad either, ETN on that mix as well. I like that for the Jags. I mean, some might think otherwise, but I see it as a steal. I see it as a steal for a 5th-rounder and a 2nd-rounder. He's just sitting out for the remainder of the season, which doesn't really seem like they're going to make much shake anyway. They could battle in the South, but Shaner, what are you thinking about this trade here for both teams?
I think an anonymous bettor in Atlanta won a lot of money on this trade.
Not Calvin Ridley 18.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because there's no impact on this year, obviously. But like you said, Titans are gonna win that division. I don't got them having a wild card spot. But it's a young team, and Trevor Lawrence, who's trying to come into his own right now, I think that's huge. I mean, Slide Ridley is, when he's healthy, a top 10 receiver in the league, in my opinion. And he's only going to make Lawrence better. So it's interesting, though, because they spent all that money on Christian Kirk, and he hasn't really turned into what they were hoping for. So Calvin Ridley is going to be that guy. And I think that's huge for the Jaguars. And I think the Falcons are happy with Drake London. That's what they wanted. And he's had a pretty successful rookie year. So seems like that's the guy they want to be their number 1 receiver, with Pitts essentially being like a 1A receiver at the tight end role if they figure out how to use him. And obviously, I don't know what they're going to do with Ritter, but Mariota's kind of a rushing quarterback anyways. So I think all parties are happy.
Peter, what you think about that?
I mean, no brainer for the Jaguars. Get Trevor Lawrence another weapon. And if you think Trevor Lawrence is underperforming, it's because you're looking at his previous resume in college. And I think he's just going to keep getting better. And you add another piece to his receiving core, it's only going to help him. I mean, he looks like he's making better decisions than year prior. Still not where he needs to be, but I think he'll get better every week, and it's a good move for the Jags. And I really like Doug Peterson there, and I
Yeah.
think that it's only up from here. Definitely not a wild card team this year, but in a division that does not impress me, I think in a year or 2 years, good things are coming from Jacksonville.
I like that. Anything you want to touch on from that trade?
I mean, they did Calvin crazy. They did him like Pete Rose. I mean, he bet on his team to win. At least he wasn't, preying on their down. But yeah, I think he's good in Jacksonville. The caveat with Calvin is he's already 27.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on what the life of that contract looks like and what the outlay is, it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. But, even though it's for him, year 3 or 4 in the league, I mean, he's definitely a veteran that could teach every one of those other receivers in Jacksonville a lot. And, when he came back, he didn't want to be in Atlanta anyway. So a win-win. And like Shane said with Mariota, they're not really looking to go downfield as much. And when they do, I mean, they got Drake London and Kyle Pitts. So, and way less cash outlay.
I hear that. I agree with all those points for sure. Here's what we're gonna do for you guys tonight. As we just had some great talk about the trade deadline trades that just occurred. What we're gonna do for you guys right now is we're gonna give our mid-season MVP, OPOY, DPOY, and I think what we're just going to do for time purposes, we're just going to give a rookie of the year respectfully, if you guys don't mind with that. Just some guys you would think can compete for a rookie of the year award. And then we'll probably end it on that. I'll post our predictions for week 9 on our Instagram. Make sure you go follow that, follow the Twitter as well. This has been great talk. We're going to start off with mid-season MVP. I feel like there's a couple of players that are worthy of this nomination as of right now. A lot of things could pan out differently come the end of the season, but Peter, if you were to pick an MVP right now, who would it be and why?
It's tough. I'm between two. You can argue a lot of things back and forth, but I'm going with Jalen Hurts. I know the schedule's weak. His numbers are there, 7-0 or 8-0 rather, 7-0. I'm going with Hurts, and I'm not mad about it. It could be Josh Allen, but I'm going with Jalen Hurts.
Wow, Paulie, I like that pick a lot. I didn't even consider him in conversation until you said it.
Who are you thinking, Chi?
Snapping. I mean, dude, like I said earlier, I mean, I'm not necessarily watching every minute of every game, but there's not that guy this year, at least in my opinion, that just comes out on film every week and it's like, wow, like he's just consistently lighting every single opposing offense or defense up that he comes across. With that being said, MVP, I mean, I don't want to sound or beat a dead horse, but I would. But see, you can't give it to a defensive guy because he's just not going to win it.
I don't hate it though. I'll listen to it.
Talk to me, yeah, bro. It's your pick. You can give a vote.
Because I know Reek could win it. Josh Allen could win it. Man, I mean, I'll go Josh.
Joshy. No, I hear you.
But that's the thing. Like, I would change my mind if the Bills don't do what the Bills should realistically do, which is go at least to the bowl or the divisional playoff and lose to the Fins.
And
So I don't know, man. I would love to give it to Gino, but
bro, I haven't seen the odds on Vegas, but I would be surprised if he wasn't in one of those closer ones, bro. Let's really think about it for a second. Obviously, Pete Carroll, worthy of a Coach of the Year nomination. They were supposed to be tanking this year, bro. And Gino's got them in contention, respectfully, and he's doing his thing. Definitely the most valuable player on that team. You could put in an argument for him. You could put in an argument for him, no doubt. Shinner, what were you thinking here, though? MVP mid-season.
I think the NFL and the media are lame. so I think they're going to pick Josh Allen, but I really want it to be Jalen Hurts. And I think it should be Jalen Hurts.
I hear you. That's my pick as well. As of right now, I would pick Jalen Hurts as the MVP. I was very torn between Josh and Jalen, but as of right now, despite the teams that they've played, I kind of put it like this. Jalen Hurts is the best player on the best team. Josh Allen, I think he's the best player on the best battle-tested team as of right now. But as far as MVP goes, I would give it to Jalen Hurts. I've been saying it since OTAs began, and I'll continue to say it until he proves me otherwise. The Eagles will go as far as Jalen allows them to. If he keeps balling the way he is, also taking the benefit of the doubt, the rest of their schedule, the rest of the way, I don't really see them losing at all. And balling his way to a first round bye, without a doubt. 1,799 passing yards at a 67 completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, 2 picks. Gotta love that right there. At 79 totes, he's at 303 rushing yards with 6 rushing touchdowns and only 3 fumbles. 7-0, and they see the Texans next. I don't really see any team beating them off of their high horse. Now, if the Commanders beat the Vikings, anything is possible. We see them the week after that. Why not us at that point? But that's for another podcast. But for right now, I got Jalen Hurts as the MVP without a doubt, for sure.
Just think about that for a second too. That would be one of the greater comeback stories I've heard in a while. A guy who went into Alabama at 18 years old, had to go against Deshaun Watson, who was considered the Michael Jordan of college football at the time, lost on a last-minute drive. Following year, gets benched for Tua. Then junior year, comes off the bench, brings them to the national championship when Tua gets hurt. Transfers to Oklahoma because Alabama, he wasn't going to be the starter, has a great year there, brings them to the college football playoffs. And then the Eagles pick him. Everyone's like, why did we pick Jalen Hurts? Carson's our guy. They finally throw him in. Then last year, it's like, I don't know. And then in his second full year, he wins the MVP of the league.
Insane.
I think
insane story.
It's just it's a testament. I hate because I know I'm listening to Taj in the back of my ear right now about how I'm talking about the Birds, but I think it's just a testament to Jalen's poise. And like, you listen to him talk, you listen to him get interviewed, he's just a cool guy. He's like a cool customer. So I don't think any moment right now has been too big for him, and he's just doing his thing.
Mm-hmm. To second that point. Oh, you got it. Chi, go ahead. Talk to me.
I was just gonna say, bro, he's like Lamar. I mean, everyone debated on him and had all these things to say, and he just showed up to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was gonna say too, for sure. Like, one thing I was thinking about, like, as far as the offseason, when I was seeing the moves that the Eagles were making, bringing over AJ Brown, making the trades they did, Hassan Reddick, like, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of how Jalen played in that playoff game against the Bucks. And one thing about Jalen, like, I knew because of his storyline, he's a hard worker, and he's gonna figure it out. No matter how much it takes, no matter how many 500-pound squats he needs, like, all of that right there, he likes that. Like, he bleeds that right there, that grind, for sure, which fears me as a Commanders fan, because he's in that. We got to see him twice a year, and I think he's one of those dudes that's going to work as hard as he humanly possibly can to figure it out, and that scares me, which is why I keep saying it. The Eagles will go as far as Jalen takes them. So now, hey, man, we'll see what happens. I like how they're looking so far. Let's keep it moving, though. Offensive player of the year. Definitely some players who are worthy candidates. I would like to see what you guys are thinking, though. Shaner, talk to me. Who is your offensive player of the year mid-season?
Right now, it's Tyreek Hill. I don't really think it's close. 961 receiving yards, I believe, which he's gonna pass 1,000 next game, week 9. That's insane. Think about it. Halfway through, he's easily on pace to shatter 2,000 yards. and he could do it in 17 games, or in 16 games for him. I know everyone always talks about that, how the Cooper Cup last year with the extra game shouldn't really count. Like Tyreek Hill is going to shatter that. And I know the touchdowns are down right now, but I mean, if there's a guy they need to go to on any play given the Dolphins are throwing, it's Tyreek Hill. And he's just a walking mismatch in the NFL. So he's my offensive player of the year for sure so far.
I hear you with that 100%. PJ, what were you second that, or you got somebody
Yeah,
else?
easy. Give me Reek. I mean, it's not Pat. It's not the system. It doesn't, like, you could give it to him on the outside. You give it to him across, or you give him a deep ball, post, corner. Like you can't cover him. Like there's not a corner equipped or a safety to get over the top of him equipped to handle his speed. And just like Shane said, like the touchdowns, not really worried about that right now. You got another guy right across the line of scrimmage, or right down the line of scrimmage from Jalen Waddle. Like the touchdowns are going to come. They're going to another. It doesn't matter. I mean, he is a walking mismatch, like Shane said.
100%. 100%. To piggyback off of that point, he's definitely proving that it was not Pat Mahomes in that Andy Reid offense that made him such a lethal threat as he was. He's really him. He can he can do it. You federal sweeping that with Reek? You bringing home Reek OPOY?
Not only because I think Jalen's going to get hosed for league MVP, so I'm gonna put Jalen at offensive MVP. And just to kind of feed off of your guys' Tyreek talk with the touchdowns, I said it when he came in, that's kind of, I think, his role on the offensive side once you start getting closer to the red zone. You got everyone on the defense watching, him wherever he goes. And that's why Waddle and, Mike Gesicki have been able to provide, what they've been able to do once you get closer to the red zone. And I think Jeff Wilson adds another fold to that equation, which, the offense has been efficient all year. And, I think they're going to get better and better. But yeah, only because I don't think Jalen's going to win league MVP. I think he wins offensive player of the year.
I hear you with that. I hear you with that. I kind of went different. I went different here. I do hear you with the Tyreek talk. I definitely think he's gonna go over 2 bands, which is gonna be an awesome story considering he's going first year out of Kansas City. But personally, because I do think Jalen will get that MVP, they're gonna give that OPOY to Josh over in Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Third in the league in passing yards with the second total offense team offense in the league right now. But they do have the most total offensive yards in the league, second to the Chiefs in total points, with Bills having 203, Chiefs having 223. But 19 touchdowns in the air, 6 interceptions, 2,198 passing yards on 65.6 completion percentage and a 105.9 QBR. On 53 totes, he has 306 rushing on 2 rushing tutters. I would have to give it to Josh right now for OPOY. Mr. Tyreek does give a very fair argument, but QBs probably winning more than wide receivers do. If there's one sitting there for the taking. Another player I will also mention, he had an amazing first 3 weeks, but if Lamar can keep it up, I think Lamar could be in the OPOY talk. Pat Mahomes, obviously OPOY talk this year, no doubt about it, sitting with 20 touchdowns, over 2 bands. But here they're all hooping right now. Let's give a DPOY pick. One thing I will say is, like, I feel like usually I think there's been some, like, a player like TJ Watt, he's been hurt. Some edge rushers not really getting at it like as early as they usually do. So I feel like y'all could think otherwise, but there hasn't really been too many DPOY like candidates flashing out to me, like maybe 2 or 3. But Shaner, what you thinking here for DPOY and why?
It's tough because I do love Myles Garrett, who's now the all-time sack leader of the Cleveland Browns, and I think he's unstoppable. But I mean, it's Micah Parsons, and it's not even close, in my opinion. Like that's a I feel like once in a generation type of player doesn't even do it justice because there's really no one else like him. Like you can just put that man where like he's literally a defense in itself. So
No.
I mean he'll whether it's scoring touchdowns, sacks, interceptions, fumble recoveries, the big hits, anything. Like he literally can be a coverage guy and then your best edge rusher in 2 consecutive plays. Like
Yeah,
it's Michael Parsons.
he's
Is
hooping.
a more athletic Lawrence Taylor with,
Yeah.
a more nimble frame, which is just a ridiculous
Doesn't
player.
even sound right to say.
Yeah,
Literally.
doesn't sound right at all. PJ, what you thinking DPOY?
It's gonna be Micah. I mean, he's an elite game and momentum changer. He gets doubled constantly and runs through the double teams. It's ridiculous to watch. He can drop into coverage. He can play that outside linebacker position. I mean, we're talking about a kid who played running back in high school and a kid who has elite NFL speed as as an edge rusher, which is ridiculous. And I have to mention, and everybody's gonna hate it, not gonna win the DPOY, but I have to mention what Darius Slay's doing. Number 1 corner in the league right now. And then they got number 2 right across from him, Bradbury. Like you're talking about an Eagles secondary that has not been good for the past couple years. And now you got some guys that they're strapping on the outside.
Yeah.
But
And Gardner Johnson, who has been who's had a ball hawk season so far for real.
But it's gonna be Micah.
I agree. Chi, what you thinking?
I mean, it's gonna be Micah Parsons, but I just want to give my flowers to Pat Surtain.
Thank you. I was gonna say that. He's my favorite corner in the league right now.
That's what I'm saying. He's literally put everyone in handcuffs, that he's lined up against through every single solitary week of football. Like, and I don't think it's talked enough about. I'm sorry.
I agree.
He's playing at
He's definitely like under the radar.
Alexander, Jalen Ramsey type of level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I saw him truly matched up against Devontae Adams, I was like, this dude is special. Like he literally, you could put him against any receiver and feel confident, which is unheard of.
In his second year in the league.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Scary. It's that Bama factor, bro. I swear. Them Bama boys, man. They just got it, dude. They got it.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to go with Micah Parsons as well. Nick Bosa, it was extremely tempting for me personally, being on the number 1 ranked defense in the NFL right now. But Micah overall is on a different level. Just last week had a touchdown on defense. Leads the league in total pressures with 36. He has 36 total tackles, 26 solo, 8 sacks, which is 3rd in the league. 2 forced fumbles, which is 5th in the league, 1 fumble recovery, 2 pass deflections. Put him anywhere. You could probably put him at quarterback. He might make something shake as well. He's just like Shane said, you can't even saying generational doesn't do it justice. He's a specimen out there on the field, man. He's good, and I hate that he's in Dallas. I hate that he's in Dallas.
Dude, think about like, what is he gonna be like if he stays healthy in like 2 to 3 years?
Unstoppable.
He already is.
Aaron Donald type. You know what I'm saying? Just like you send half of the O line, you shade half the O line his way, and it's just like if we lose to the other 10 players on the field, so be it.
You can shade all you want, but right now it doesn't look like it matters. Like it really, like he's hitting like getting the double team, getting through one, hitting a secondary move, and he's at the quarterback.
Yeah, it's scary,
In a
bro.
slightly different capacity, I feel like they expected Isaiah Simmons to be like Micah. And
100%.
Micah's game in the
I
league,
hear
it was
you with
just
that.
literally matched every single thing that anyone ever had to say about him. And Isaiah, I mean, he's been playing okay, but
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think
he
he's
was.
met at least what I personally thought he was going to do.
Nah, I
Yeah,
hear you
that's
with that.
that's actually a great point because I was thinking about it too. Like, I remember his draft profile. They were like, "This is the Swiss Army knife type defensive player who can play anywhere." And you saw in college, he played pretty much every position. And like you
Yeah.
said, everything that they were saying in that draft class about Simmons, Michael Parson is.
Right.
That's a great
There's
point
no
right
doubt.
there. That's a great point right there. Well, we're well over an hour right now. We had some very, very, very great talk tonight. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna end it right here.
And Swaggy Steve, I'm going to let you finish. But remember one of the very first podcasts, we had a discussion about comeback player of the year?
Put him in the air. Put it in the air. We always got time for
I'm going to
that.
just say, probably name didn't even show up on the list. They wrote him. He ain't right back.
And
Right behind Saquon on his ass.
Yeah, 100%.
I think Gino's
that's
getting it.
unanimous. Yeah, I feel like that's got to go a unanimous as far as comeback player of the year, Geno Smith. If he does not get the MVP, like I don't care
But
what
the
nobody
problem is
talking about.
he's
Right?
Sleeping
old
giant.
and
Sleeping giant.
straight up.
This has
But
been
I
this
don't
has
know,
been a
like-
10-year comeback. You can't beat that.
Like, can we
That's what I'm
really think
saying.
about this for a second? Like,
He was never
who
even there
really
to come
does
back,
that?
but he's back.
Like,
They gave him 2
arguably,
seasons in New York, the other New York, and he's been chilling.
like
Just
as far
crafting.
as a 10-year player, like 10-year journeyman, and arguably, I don't care, arguably in contention for MVP after a 10-year journeyman career. That's insane. That is
I mean,
insane.
That just shows, if you're looking at Geno Smith, it just shows for 10 seasons, he didn't complain. He brought his lunch pail to work and he got after it. And he learned and he's getting his shot, and we have to give him his flowers.
100%.
Let's
I
not
want to
act
shout
like
out
being
Pete Carroll too.
yeah. Let's not act
Yeah.
like being a backup quarterback isn't a luxurious job, though. I think he was like, maybe I can take this serious after making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. If you
For
look
sure.
at Pete Carroll, though, and then you look over in Denver, you're saying to yourself, maybe Russ needed Pete Carroll. Or is it?
Arguably.
It's not even a maybe right now to me.
Arguably,
Pete Carroll
bro.
looks like elite coach right now.
I agree.
Rumor is Russ carried the plane home from London.
Oh,
I
yeah.
heard that. I heard that as well. That's a whole different podcast though. But nah, Pete Carroll, definitely a coach of the year candidate this year because like I said, they were supposed to be a top 3 pick and he was probably supposed to be out of there. So for them to be doing what they're doing, hats off to Gino, hats off to Pete, hats off to Kenneth Walker. Definitely a offensive rookie of the year candidate, no doubt about it. But we're gonna cap it off on that right there, fellas. I really, really appreciate all of you guys tapping in with us tonight. Make sure you show love on the IG. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let us know in the comments who your guys' picks are for MVP, OPOY, DPOY. Let us know who you got winning in week 9 as well. Why is your favorite team going to win this weekend? Let us know. Until then, appreciate you guys on the Swaggy Sports Podcast. Peace.
Swaggy Sports Podcast.